So this is at Susquehannock State Park. This is down south close to the Maryland border in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. As any native Pennsylvanian would say, it's not pronounced Lancaster. I am a foreigner to this area. So what this is a small little place. It's a loop hike that has several uh, viewpoints of the Susquehanna River. Um, there are bald eagles in the area, there was a raven in the area, and there were uh, several deer that you'll see later on, um, and several turkey vultures, which are all over the place in this area. One of the things is everybody on this hike was super friendly. Uh, I enjoyed their company, talking to them. That gentleman was super nice. He asked about the camera, and it was. I told him what it was for, and he's like, "That's awesome." Uh, Outside of that, there were a lot of leaves out, dead-looking trees, dead-looking forest. However, it is very calming to be outside. At one point, I will stop the video and point out a whole thing where you can see a bald eagle up in the corner. And number two, because this is my first hike that I have done, I am actually noticing some things that I wish I could do better with my GoPro. One of the things is the wide angle lens doesn't give you a true sense of how close I was to stuff um, and whatnot. So let me talk about some of the equipment I have. Hanging from my neck, I have my Canon. That way I can be ready to snap quick pictures. I also have I have my GoPro strapped to my head with the GoPro head strap. It was actually worked better than I thought. I currently have an orange shirt on, my Deuter backpack, which is loaded with camera, GoPro, and medicine, and of course other necessities like a rain jacket, several items of food like good old raisins and peanuts. I also have other things such as light sources, a lead lens or a headlamp, a Coast flashlight, and quite a bit other light source. I am also using my phone that had great signal out here to actually follow the trail and figure out where I was located. That helped greatly because this was my first time out. Now that being said, this hike was roughly about hour and a half because I got lost halfway through it. There will be some scenes where it looks like it's skipping, and I apologize for that. So one of the things that I liked about this was that there was just a tad bit of road, not a lot of rocks, just a lot of dirt paving down, packed dirt, I should say, and that gives it more of a natural feel. However, if it had rock here and there, it'd be great. And if I had tracks anywhere that I could see, that would be even better. Past hikes that I have done, I've come across bobcat tracks, I've come across deer tracks, and I have seen some birds that are pretty interesting in this area, uh, including uh, a type of woodpecker that I don't recall off the top of my head, eastern bluebirds galore, and wrens literally wallowing themselves in the snow, which was hilarious. Now, this trail, that's me checking how the trail's going. This trail is the Holly Trail. Holly Trail will lead up to back to the campground where I was at when I started, and then cut across the road. This is actually a pretty steep hike for beginner hikers. I do recommend poles. I unfortunately did not use my poles. They were strapped to my backpack the entire time. Poles make hiking easier, They also reduce the strain on your feet and legs, and you also get a bit more sturdy when it comes to steep cliffs and edges. Now, how you use those is you actually lower your hiking poles to go uphill to match your gait and how much what the incline is. And when you're going down, you want to lengthen them so you're going to be bracing yourself along with a foot to make sure you're going to be nice and steady to get down. However, sometimes this is great. I just gotta. Give me one moment here. I'm gonna let this play a little bit. I'll still talk about my polls. Uh, so with that being said, going up this hill was pretty exhausting because this was my first time hiking this year and first time since last winter. I do love uh, um, I do love seeing uh, well, I do love going out and exercises, but the best thing I love is hiking out in the winter. This morning it was roughly that morning it was roughly about 29 degrees. I was just wearing a hoodie and I was also wearing a long sleeve hooded t-shirt as well. Uh, the long sleeve hooded t-shirt was orange, so if there were any hunters out there, which of course at this point in January you will not actually see many hunters because they're going to be camouflaged very well. Hence why we wear orange. Shortly after this, on the 26th, Pennsylvania stopped deer hunting, and currently the only hunting that can go on is like specific fox, squirrel, and other small prey. So you don't really need camouflage for that, nor do you really need the orange. I always do recommend that, and it's actually pretty fun to see. Now, I'm going downhill here, and I don't recall where I'm actually. No, this is actually going uphill. Me taking a break going uphill, taking pictures. This is what I do. I do a little bit of amateur photography. One of the reasons why I took a picture here is because it began to look more like a tunnel along the trail. Some of my photos you will see on my page, like my starting soon, is actually from this, which was a pretty steep decline in on one of the trails, and that was a little bit fun and difficult. Was literally scrambling backwards, but it's something that I enjoy. Anything that goes on in the trails, I actually keep forever, only because I like being outdoors. I do play a lot of video games. However, I also like to split my time outside because I believe the outdoors is for everybody. One of the things I wish this park would do is better mark their trails. On certain trees, you'll see, like the one coming up on the right has a yellow marker. It tells you that you are on that trail. Sometimes there will be two, sometimes there will be three. There will be different colors, and they all tell you what trail you're on. However, this one isn't very well marked. Roughly about every 50 to 100 feet, you should have a marking on a tree to help hikers. When I lived out west in Washington State, State. Sorry about that. I actually did a little bit of trailblazing in the woods that were behind my house. Went out picking blackberries, went up climbing trees, catching snakes, and all sorts of things out there. This one, it's actually it was very quiet. I heard next to no birds, heard no skittering along the sides of the trail, um, and beginning my ascent up here. It was very calming. In the winter, there's next to nobody out on the trails. When I pulled into the parking lot, there were only like 4 or 5 cars. I do wish that the state parks like this have their offices open year round because some of them do offer uh, things like uh, assistance, maps, and whatnot. I would love to actually have a physical map of every place I go. Uh, Currently, the only places that I have maps for are a small wildlife management area that's uh, towards the Reading area. It's Middle Creek. It's in a little town called Kleinfeltersville. Um, Very hard to say for me, but I usually tell people it's near Stevens because they'll understand that more, which is on the northeastern tip of Lancaster County. Uh, Everywhere I go around here, it's quite a drive to get to, primarily because of the area that I live in. Let's take an area that I know pretty well because I used to work at a place called Hershey Park. There are no outdoor trails like this in the town of Hershey, Pennsylvania. That is something that I find awkward. Every place should have a area where people can go out, explore a little bit of the woods, uh, and enjoy the outside. However, Hershey does have Hershey Park, um, and that's about it. Occasionally, when I think I see good spots to overlook, like when it declines along the sides where the hills where there's steeper hills. Sorry, I'm bad with words today. I actually really, really, really like views, even if they're clouded by trees. Um, you can still see the forest as it goes down, the tops of the trees lower to the ground, and it's pretty interesting. Now up here, I'm getting close to it looks like a facility where it houses stuff for the campers that come up. Um, Several things that they have are I saw a canoe or a kayak. It will come up here shortly. It was very interesting to see that when I saw no water in this area outside of the Susquehanna River. I did like the markings. However, upcoming here, it got very confusing because there are no markings for the trail on trees nor on the buildings. And when I look to my right up here, I'll be able to see my car uh, as well as everybody else's. Um, and there's a raised area for a tent. Um, as I said, this place I got confused at. One of these days, I'm going to be taking my wife out to the places that I've hiked so we can go out together. We recently bought bikes, which is actually something I've been wanting to do since I got rid of my bike years ago. The also bad thing about this is in the winter they actually close the restrooms, so when I wanted to leave, I could not go in them at all. Now that being said, my second hike here, which was a little bit north of this, but still in the Susquehannock State Park, is they had restrooms free available, but they were porta pots. And yeah, it is what it is when you're outside. As I said, it's part road here. It's going to get even more road. Going to cross the main entrance here. There's a playground, volleyball net, uh, gazebo, not a gazebo, but a pavilion for uh, group events. And this is the part where I got confused as to where the next part of the trail was because it was very unclear. Up on the left, you actually see the trail marker, which they did not have where I walked past. And it's going to be a right up here between the trees, and then it's going to be a significant downhill slope. Several of the things that I do like about this is uh, the exercise I get. I tend to enjoy challenges. Um, this whole trail system that I did was roughly 6 different trails that runs a loop along 2 points to overlook the river. Unfortunately, I really didn't get any views of the river with my GoPro because I spent too much time. I turned it off, changed the battery, and spent too much time taking pictures until I continued. Now, one of the things that, as I said, I turned off the sound because I didn't want to I didn't want you all to hear me huff and puff, but crackling leaves, the wind rustling. I believe at this time I started taking off my hoodie because I was way too hot, even though it was 30 degrees outside. No gloves. I used some Ignit can warmers, which are air contact based, so as soon as they are out in the air, they warm up in about 10-15 minutes, and I kept on putting my hands in my pocket when they got cold, pulled them out when they were warm, and after a while I decided to actually seal them up because my hands were too hot, and then they stopped working. And then when I unplugged them, they worked. When I actually not unplugged, when I took them back out of the package, they started heating up again later down the road. You may see me continually take out this orange packet. That is what that is. Now, from this trail, I'm going to be heading up to, I believe it's called Hawk Point. It is an overlook of the Susquehanna River. I do have, uh, I do have pictures of it that I can post online if you ask, or I can even do other things such as uh, I kind of want to get my prints out there with some of my shots on the trail. I do have some that I use down at the bottom. Uh, the rules picture was taken in a place that was a bike trail and had a beautiful bridge over an estuary into the not an estuary, a tributary of the Susquehanna. The the sapsucker that is on the About Me is a was taken at a wildlife refuge. not refuge. It was a wildlife management area, and I went to see the snow geese. Didn't get any good snow geese pictures, but I did get some, as well as me finding several of the other uh, animal prints like the deer, the bobcat, and quite a few different birds. Uh, the the donations was taken up again near the Reading, Pennsylvania area, and that was quite a bit of a drive for me, even more so than to get to the wildlife management area. I keep on wanting to call it a refuge. Soon, I actually want to go. I was planning on going tomorrow, but I'm going to be testing my bike. But I'm planning to go to part of the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania to go over one of the overlooks of the Susquehanna River. It's going to be further north, much further north than where I'm at. All these trails that I'm passing, I want to hit up sooner or later, uh, only because I want to see what they're like, see what their gradient is, which is the rate of incline or decline, and I also want to see how challenging they are. There's a place much up north in Pennsylvania called Ricketts Glen. It's another state park. Currently, the Falls Trail up there is closed for the winter. They always freeze over and they have ice hiking up there, which is pretty cool because you also do ice climbing. Here, while I'm adjusting my camera, I apologize. There's my Canon. Uh, Here, I haven't gotten a sense of actual difficulty that I like on like Ricketts Glen, Falls Trail. Now, while up there, I've actually done almost every single trail that's up at Ricketts Glen, and it's always beautiful. Up here to the left, I'm coming up to another steep decline. There are areas where you don't want to walk in this area because you can slip and fall down these inclines. And with all the branches, rocks, possible snakes like copperheads, you really want to be careful walking through these leaves. Now, copperheads actually do not hibernate in winter. They act like it, and they aren't very active due to less uh, sun coverage. Sorry for continuing to adjust my GoPro. I was having problems with it slipping at this point. Later down the road, you will actually see what slipping is like, and that is on the second part of the trail. Once again, had to take off my GoPro and put it back on. Needed to adjust the straps. This was my first time doing this, and I want to do virtual hikes for people who can't get outside and do these hikes, either due to mental or physical limitations, or those who are underrepresented and can't get outside, which is unfortunate. Uh, there are organizations out there that actually do that. There's one called Adaptive Adventures. It's based in Colorado. It gets people with physical disability, no matter what their income, geared to, go bike riding, to go outside, to do all sorts of things. There's another one that's based down towards Atlanta called Girl Trek. What it does is it gets inner city underrepresented women out, gets them gear out, takes them out to, you know, part of the Appalachian Trail to hike, other areas like that. The outside is something that I truly believe you know, everybody should do. Now, that being said, there's a lot of things you can do for that. You can go to their websites, you can look them up. I can give you information if you message me. Uh, It's something that I like fighting for is getting people outside and making sure that they're, happy. It's a human right to be outside, and sometimes people can't do that. Now, one thing I noticed about this was it was just pretty much a loop around what they call a mountain over here. Um, it was actually pretty tough getting up on one side. Uh, when I go to the second one later in this video, it's actually much worse, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's where I was huffing and puffing the most. Uh, Several things that go on with this include me getting my gear ready. I For day hikes like this, normally a person would take maybe a 20-30 liter pack. I'm carrying a 60-liter pack only because I carry my camera equipment, medicine, emergency kit, all sorts of things to make sure that if I get stuck, fall, get injured, I know that I have stuff to take care of me. And in this place, surprisingly, my cell signal was fantastic, and I enjoyed that. That also includes me looking at the map. A lot of times you may see my phone pop up, and that's because I was looking at a map. The app that I used was All Trails. Uh, it has a free version and a pro version. I actually use the free version, so I can't download any of the maps they have available. They do, however, have a tracker that you have if you're connected to the internet show you your exact location on these trails. Sometimes it's a little weird with the orientation, but that just may be the way you're holding your phone. Uh, where am I at here? Intersection of two trails. I'm still on the Landis Trail, and I'm heading up to the first overlook. In fact, over through the trees on the left-hand side, you can actually see the Susquehanna River. It is the main artery, the main river that flows through central Pennsylvania. You will also see some change in terrain. Notice more rocks, less dirt pack. Some of that is naturally placed, and other parts it's unnaturally placed to help build the trail. Rocks are an important factor for steep trails, as well as both low and high, up and down, uh, because it helps you grip, but you can't step on a loose one because that's absolute fun. That I meant that sarcastically. Uh, there are other things out there that I really do like include in these hikes. I include just sitting down, taking a break, enjoying my pack, eating my gorp, or as everybody else knows it as, is trail mix. To me, trail mix is one of the best out there. It gets you your sugar, it gets you your protein, and all sorts of nutrients to help regain. Now, if you are allergic to peanuts, There are alternatives out there, uh, but unfortunately, since I am not allergic to them, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There are some that I do enjoy that aren't full of the protein like Gorp is, but they are available out there. Some of the ones that I like are like the Honey Stinger Stroopwafels. Uh, they're pretty good, as well as their gummies, which also provide sugar and things that you'll need uh, for energy recovery, energy, protein building, protein for muscle recovery and building. Um, this is the incline towards Hawk Point. Um, I will be getting there shortly, and then there will be a small cut for the next video. I did string them together to try making them one. However, I forgot that my battery died, was pretty much dead when I got up here. One of the things I did is I'm testing out different styles on my GoPro. This is the standard 4K. This wasn't the 4K wide. This was the 1080p wide. And me checking my map again, figuring out which side to take to get to Hawk Point. Um, Again, always important to have a map. That's one of the best things you can get, as well as a compass, which I also carry around in these things. Other things that I carry around: tinder fire starters. I carry around stormproof, waterproof matches. I carry around lots of flashlights, lots of light sources, battery packs, um, things like that. Most of my battery packs can actually double as a flashlight, as well as a small underperforming solar panel, which does help in the long run when you're out here hiking. So roughly in about 10-15 minutes will be one of my favorite scenes on this part of the hike. I will pause the video and talk about what it was like. Now, that being said, I really wish I kept the audio for that part, because I literally screamed when I saw them. It was it was amazing. Hopefully I'm there soon. I can't remember fully because this was almost a full month ago. Hopefully I get out next week and do another hike, and that way I can get more videos. Um, I really want to do this more often, show people what the outside is like. I really wish Pennsylvania DCNR would actually do virtual hikes. I know that's a lot of storage, but it would actually be very cool and very helpful for quite a bit of people. Just looking at the terrain, they can tell what's good and what's not good for them and what's not, or give them something that gives a challenge. This hike, I would probably rate it as a 2.5 out of 5. The reason why, it was just a moderate hike. And that's a scale for the difficulty of the hike. There was a part that was pretty much felt straight uphill. And yes, that is the Susquehanna River on my left. And I am getting excited to see it because I am heading towards the first overlook of two that this place has. I'm also coming up to a point to see bald eagle. The bird that just flew overhead on the left-hand side was a turkey vulture. It was just a little eerie at this place that had zero Uh, it had zero wildlife, it seemed, until I got up here to the river. And I'm getting excited because anytime I get to a lookout point, it's just great. Now, the strange thing about this that I noticed is that you can literally just drive up to the hawk point up here. Um, that confused me a little bit, but it actually makes it easier for those who can't access it to actually access it. That means that, they don't have to do the hike like I'm doing. When I was up here, I was also talking to a couple people, telling them about things such as what I saw, what's there, um, and a bit of the animals and where parts are best to kayak on the river. That's what I was being told. Down to the left-hand side of this, where I'm at right now, there's a nice little estuary that had, I keep on saying estuary, tributary that runs into the river that gives you a bit of a good look at uh, the river without it being down there. That little sign that you see in front of me, that is a protected wildlife area. That area houses bald eagles, ravens, other birds that are pretty well protected. Here, sorry about that. That was me just taking a quick glance, and I'm heading back to Hawk Point. No, I actually got lost here again with the trail, continually looking at my phone until I actually made the right choice. Once again, I have pictures of the views, including one that actually naturally sunbursted, which was pretty cool. Up on the right are picnics, a restroom, information stand, telling you that if you see anything, any of the eggs, any eggs, larvae, or actual animals of the spotted lanternfly, to literally stomp them out. They are a very invasive species and they're all over the place. Uh, there are quite a bit of them in our area, including this area where I'm hiking at Susquehannock State Park. And I'm coming up on one of the things that I found really cool. Um, uh, it was it was pretty great. One of the best pieces of scenery I have seen in a while. Did I already pass it? That is the question. I'm taking a look. There's going to be a bald eagle around this area right here that's going to take flight as I walk past it. I may have already missed it, which stinks. It's not you. Because when I see it, I start taking pictures. There's a little drop away zone. When I do see it fly off at the corner of my eye, didn't have my camera fast enough. Oh, right there, right there. Uh, uh, it was great to see it, and it was great to see it fly off with the with its head shining in the background. I wish this didn't look so far away, because you'd be able to see what I saw through my eyes instead of it being pretty far away. Um, and once again, I'm sorry for rewinding like that. It's not here yet. Uh, I did enjoy seeing roughly about 3 to 4 bald eagles. Right there it is. That is the bald eagle. It's going to fly down right in front of here. And I ended up trying to get pictures of it. You see the white tail right there. Tried getting some pictures of it. I did get one. It wasn't the greatest. I do need a birding lens that can zoom quite a bit better. The white bird out there that was flying was a seagull in the middle of, Pennsylvania. Here again, I stop. I get a good look at the river, and the river was not too high, not too low today. If it's lower, you'll actually at some points be able to walk across it in this area, which I would not recommend because some of the area is because Safe Harbor from this location is north of here, which is a dam. Parts of that can get very, very deep. There was yeah. I don't see it again, so I decided to continue walking shortly after this, but I did take some good pictures of this area, mostly zoomed in on birds. That right there is a turkey vulture. As I said, they are all over the place. Any given day around my house, you'll see 5 to 6 of them going over the fields next to my house, next the farm next to my house, and everything like that. Uh, they do patrol those for both live prey and dead prey. Uh, Black vultures have been making an appearance in this area too. I went to work with my wife today and saw black vultures on top of the building next to my work, and it was very interesting because normally you would see them further east, but they've been invading places like Hershey, Harrisburg. They're bigger than turkey vultures, and they have a lightly feathered black head, and they are so cute. Any bird is cute. Any animal is cute, except for spotted lanternflies. I lie. They're cute too. We just don't want that. Hello, thank you for the follow, Swiss R. I really appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. I am generally from Pennsylvania, as I say, in uh, the United States, and really, that's awesome. Uh, I tend to try hiking at least once a week. I get a paid day to literally go outside and do something. Last year, one of my paid days like that, I was down in the Bahamas swimming. It was absolute fun. But that was my first time out of the country in over 25 years. Holy cow, I'm old. Uh, uh, this this area coming up is one of the coolest parts that happened while I was walking. I was just minding my own business, looking over at the river, looking down the sides of the mountain here, as they say in Pennsylvania, and I was just on my way, just enjoying. And then coming up, I started hearing thump, 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 thump. Oh, nice. Yeah, I started doing streams for hiking in Pennsylvania. Well, all over the place as far as I can go for day hike or multiple day hike. So people can see what it's like to be outside if they can't get out. Primarily those who are, uh, primarily those who are, is it? Either mentally or physically handicapped. Uh, yes, Pennsylvania polka, which I live in Amish country. So yeah, I don't hear it very often, but it is a joke that's put on us, and there are, as they say, Dutch fests, even though it's a German tradition. Yep, and that's what I said. It's they call it Dutch, but it's German, which I find hilarious. This is a train station port. They do boat launches and everything like that. Yeah, true. Uh, I keep on. I have friends from Germany, so they do a lot like this, but don't do it if you know what I mean. They know about it. I have a friend in Belgium who is pretty much just into like black metal, and it's hilarious. Uh, he goes out camping with a bunch of people once a year, goes to the beach. Um, I'm trying to make my way out to Europe, but uh, that might be in a couple years. The reason why I say couple years, I have kidney cancer. However, I've been cancer free for this year will be 4 years. And I will be cancer free next year, 5 years. I'm either planning a trip to Japan or I'm planning a trip to Europe. My wife wants to go to Europe. I want to do either. That is what I say. The type of kidney cancer that I have is called is this it? Was this where I was hearing the noise? But the type of cancer I have is called clear cell renal cell carcinoma. It's usually found in people a lot older than I, and I caught it early, and was in stage 2 cancer at the time. Surgery, they took out part of my kidney, and now I'm doing well. I think this is where I heard it. I'm always eating. I have another condition that technically I need to eat a lot of sugar and salt. It's an autoimmune disorder called Addison's disease. That was where I changed the battery, I think. No, that's where it broke up and I put it together. Um, but I do eat as healthy as I can. This is America, so there's too many temptations out there. I'm waiting for a scene uh, here that's going to be coming up where I heard this like a thump 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 noise, but it was much faster. It's right up here. I recognize these trees. Um, Looking at the beauty on the other side of the river. But upcoming are going to be a small herd of deer. Uh, the last one that comes up is uh, last one that comes up is a little funny. Nice. Swiss. I was in what is it called? I lived in 8 states. I've been to the lower 48 this was all before I was 13. And I was my dad was in the military, so I moved around a lot. I have never been to Las Vegas. I lived in California. I visited Florida several times. My wife and I went there for our honeymoon. She wanted to go see Disney because she hadn't seen it in a while. At that point, I hadn't seen Disney in 24 years. Wait, 12 years. Yeah, 24 years. These are the trees. So I hear this thump, 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 thump. And yeah, I read about that it's what, 2 year service, mandatory. Did I already miss the deer? I haven't seen the dog yet, but did I miss the deer? Or is it these two trees that I stopped at? Now, the thing with wild animals is you want to keep your distance away, a long distance away. Uh, Only because you can get injured. They are they are pretty violent, and it doesn't matter if they look cute. Uh, there have been horror stories of deer, bison, uh, even foxes attacking people. Yeah, that sounds like a lot, but it doesn't sound like that much, what you're talking about. I know certain places you have to do 2 hard years and then you're out, or you can stay in. My friend joined the Navy and he was in for 4 years. Now he does private contracting, uh, and he's such a good friend. I'm just waiting. Well, you have fun. It's nice talking to you. Thanks for the follow. I do appreciate it. When I get to the deer segment, I am definitely going to clip it because it was pretty cool. That's awesome. Thank you for being a nurse. We always need nurses and doctors. Otherwise, we can't be healthy. Hmm. I'm really confused on where this deer would be. I will. Thank you so much. Little stream water drainage. Uh, you'll see that a lot in these areas, especially because not a lot of this will do. A lot of this area will have drainage in specific areas due to topographical layout. Um, and that makes it all the best uh, because you get to see cool things. It all dug out with natural erosion. And in some parts, you'll start to see pooling based off of how uh, much gets deposited in the faster areas. It's a very fascinating subject to know. I think this is the deer. Now, part of my language when I started seeing the deer, I literally swore and said, "Holy shit!" Uh, because it was actually amazing to see that many that close, just running through the forest. I am really confused on where the deer are at. I did pass the deer. No, I did not. Not yet. I talked to these uh, people, telling them that I've seen several animals and whatnot. Told them say hi. Always on a hike, it's always nice to say hi to people. You'll meet some people who will sit there and talk to you. They are, most of them may be knowledgeable. There are some like me who are pretty knowledgeable about this stuff. I mean, I deal with hiking and camping on a regular basis. Lots of questions asked, lots of questions learned. I can give you advice on lots of different things. Now this incline wasn't too bad, and it was a very leisurely walk. This is the deer area, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, After the deer came in herds, well, in two groups. There they are. There's some of them. And I was like, okay, they're all gone. Let's continue. And then here come 18 more deer. And there's one more coming. Well, more coming. And then the last one was just looking like a yearling doe and was just jumping all over everything. This one right here. This one. So cute. But they are dangerous and they are wild animals. They can damage you if you get close to them. Now, that being said, there were no more deer that I saw come running. I wait for a while after that just in case more come, because if they're in a line like that with a herd, that means that there may be more coming. Uh, that is one of the things that I have learned from family members being outside. Uh, Making sure people understand what goes on with the animals is very important. Now, these two dogs were so excited to see me. I was told I can't pet them, so I did not. However, they still came to me and started licking my hands. I did warn the lady about the deer that just came across. One of the dogs is a hound. Uh, Yeah, the dogs are pretty strong, and I told her just be careful of the deer. Um, she told me that one of the dogs will pick up the scent and hopefully not drag her down the side of the hill. Um, the rest of the hike is I get caught. I wanted to go back to the same trail I was on, but I had already passed that trail. So what I did was I went up the one side again where it was at, and it was still a hike to get up there. Hopped onto the rhododendron trail. I'm currently on the holly trail. The rhododendron is the one that takes us up back to the campground. Uh, After this, I did not see any more wild animals in this part. It made me a little sad. I w- Again, there was next to no birds chirping or anything, which is something I'm not used to and I don't like because I love hearing the sounds of nature. Um, Other things that I like. This trail is painted with two, only because I think it's the first trail that I was on is painted in one, and once you get to not the Fireman Trail, but the Rhododendron Trail, it will be painted one again. Uh, that's painted one, even though the other was painted two. And once again, if you have just arrived or I want to do this to help people see what it's like out on the trails. One of the big things I want to do this year is actually do the uh, Ricketts Glen Trail with my GoPro, show all the waterfalls. But that's going to be a very long day for me because I'll have to get up super early, drive up there, go up the mountain, park, and then climb down about 2,000 feet and then climb up about 2,000 feet. That one I definitely take breaks on, and it makes it pretty enjoyable, especially looking at the waterfalls. There are some parts where you'll be able to walk down under, not, well, yeah, technically under if you're willing to climb, uh, but you can take pictures right in front of the one of the biggest falls on Ricketts Glen. I just wish, this being winter here, I really wish we had snow. Snow would have made this so much more better. Yes, more better. Two superlatives. But I have my poles actually have uh, both mud baskets, which I was prepared for, but it was too dry, and snow baskets. Hello, thanks for the follow, Moondog. I really appreciate it. A lot of this area was unfortunately dry. We haven't had much snowfall in this entire year, including all the way back to October. Um, yes, this is southern, south central Pennsylvania, closer to the Maryland border. Uh, I have lived in West Virginia and I know exactly what you're talking about. I lived on the southern side in Raleigh County, as well as near Charleston, West Virginia, and in between Charleston and Huntington. One of my friends has a cabin out near the Potomac River where I pretty much went out and just traversed the area when I stayed with her the one year. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. But hopefully, West Virginia has had more snow than we have had. Uh, we are at a deficit of rainfall slash snowfall by about 2 feet already. I do want to go to like New River Gorge National Park. I haven't been there in years. I do want to walk across the bridge. I do want to be on the water in a kayak. Uh, I really wish Pennsylvania would actually have uh, a national park, but all we have are quite a bit of state parks. Now, the cool thing with Pennsylvania is there's this company. Uh, if you want to give me one moment here, I forget what company it is, but they make uh, a passport for Pennsylvania parks. So if you go to the main park office, they'll give you a stamp when you're there, seemingly only in the summertime because most of the offices are closed outside of things like Ricketts Glen, World's End, Bald Eagle, and a couple more in the north. I do not. Um, I do know quite a bit about plants in that. I grew up in the West Coast. In the fifth grade, they took us out to the mountains to learn survival because, the Cascade Mountains, people go missing all the time. And then in the sixth grade, they took us out to the Juan de Fuca Islands. Now, that one says it's a difficult trail. That's what that blue line means. And then they took us out to the islands to learn island survival because we also lived on the Sound, the Puget Sound. And I learned a lot from them. I still remember my wayfinding tricks from that. But what are ground pine trees? Oh, that's a pretty cool plant. I really like that. I just looked it up. Uh, those are pretty cool plants there, Moondog. Uh, uh, I have never seen those. The things I tend to look out for are the plants with dendrotoxins. In the East Coast, there are three plants with dendrotoxins. They are known as poison oak, poison sumac, and poison ivy. I do not get any reaction from any of those. I guess I'm lucky. Now, out west, we had these things called stinging nettles, and boy, did they hurt when you got hit by them. I remember running through the woods one day with a cousin of mine, and I hit a stinging nettle. My leg went out because of the pain, and I fell down the side of the hill. It was great still. Sorry, I keep on having to stop to drink something. Uh, Now I am heading back on what is it, the rhododendron trail now. I am off the Holly Trail, and I'm going back up that very steep part of it, getting to the campground, which means for this part of the hike, I am almost completely done. And then it will go on to my most adventurous hike of this day back in January, which was the Pinnacle Overlook slash Conestoga Trail. Pinnacle Overlook is a another overlook, kind of like the one that was shown in this video with Hawk Point. Uh, and That being said, because of that, I did not have much GoPro footage of that, so next time I go, I'm going to be doing more of the trails here, and I'll be doing the full Conestoga slash Kelly Trail at Pinnacle Overlook. Um, uh, that being said, I actually did have quite a momentous hike at Pinnacle Overlook, and I will get more footage for that. I do have pictures of that on my camera, well, on my computer that I absolutely love. Uh, and once again, some of the pictures down below, my starting soon, they're all taken on my hikes. The About Me is, oh yeah, taking a breather because I needed it. Pretty much walking for a little over an hour without a break can be tough, especially when you're going up and down elevation, significant elevation changes of a couple hundred feet here. It's not like Ricketts Glen where it's a couple thousand feet. Well, aka 2,000 feet. Uh, but yeah, I wish I would have been smarter and got more of a look of the overlooks. But this was my first one that I recorded for people to get out. I am actually walking to my car now through the campsites that they have. I believe the campsites here are like 40, not even $45 a night. They don't have electricity. They are just standard campsites. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun camping outside. Places I want to go while I'm walking back to my car here. I want to go back to Allegheny National Forest. It's pretty cool out there. That's near Kensawa, which was a famous railroad bridge that spanned an entire valley. And as they were restoring it, it was hit by three tornadoes at once. Okay, I turned off my camera, spliced it. This is now Pinnacle Overlook onto the Conestoga. There was a Amish woman coming up, so I did do the courtesy and turned off my camera. They do not like being photographed, and I respect that. She did say hi. She didn't even mention my camera because she saw me turn it off. Well, heard me turn it off. I use voice commands a lot here. That was the only bathroom that was actually open on these two hikes. So yeah, that was actually interesting. Pinnacle Overlook is actually one of the more beautiful ones, better than, in my opinion, Hawk Point. But Hawk Point actually had like protected land, so bald eagles could nest, as well as ravens and what are the turkey vultures, even though turkey vultures are everywhere. Here, I did not see any of those birds, unfortunately. I only saw them at Hawk Point, and it was it was as interesting as it could be because I love seeing any type of large bird of prey that isn't very common, like eagles, out and about in a close proximity of each other. Uh, Walking past that, the one that sticks out to me was the one on the left-hand side of that billboard, which tells you to stomp out any phase of the spotted lanternfly. Now this is one of the views, and then it's going to cut here onto the Conestoga Trail. Conestoga Trail is one of the longest trails in this park. It's rough. The Conestoga Trail starts up towards Columbia, which is roughly 25 miles away from this, 20 miles away from this, and it goes all the way to Lancaster City in the heart of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The last half of this trail is literally just road trails, paved trails, and it gets you to pretty much Central Market in a case. Uh, Conestoga, this was a pain in the butt. I didn't realize how hard this trail was, and I should have brought my poles for this one because of a mishap I had. Uh, Give me a moment here. Sorry about that. Needed to get something to drink. Had to run and get another Gatorade. Now this one was pretty cool because it was a little bit greener than the Hawk Point loop. Uh, it was also very steep, uh, pretty fun, and you will actually see something that I was actually scared of. Uh, I also talked to a gentleman twice on this route, uh, and we talked for a bit because he actually asked why I was filming a hike, and I told him it's because I want people to see what trails are like outside. I really wish I didn't adjust the camera here because now it's looking more down on the ground rather than straight ahead. But this is my first recording of a trail, and I learned my lesson. Now, that being said, uh, part of this trail was literally covered in leaves, which, in my opinion, is slicker than ice at times. And let me just say, it can hurt really bad. Over here, I'm going to begin the descent of the maximum 25 feet that I gained in those that amount of steps. See here again, I turned down the camera. I'm fixing it, trying to, and uh, that's why I turned it down. I saw the Amish lady. I turned it back on for uh, respect purposes because they do not like being filmed, nor do they like having pictures taken. She did talk to me, and she was very nice. Um, Again, she didn't mention the camera, which I was surprised. Hey, I am a very, well, I shouldn't say I'm a very positive person. In the past couple years, my positivity, I've tried being more positive, and it has been great. Uh, it pretty much gave me a new look at how life is, and helping others helps my positivity. Being good to myself helps my positivity, and me just being here, I'm glad it raises the esteem of others because that is something that I really wish we would all do. And again, I'm stupid because I turned down my camera, but it's a learning experience. I was, though, looking a lot at the ground because this was one of the few places that I actually heard some rustling, and I wanted to see what it may be, where if it were chipmunks or whatnot, and then a down tree in the middle of the trail. Fun. Always go over them carefully because you don't even know if it's going to move or not. I believe there's a point where there's a larger log that I have to literally step over before I go on this steep descent. Now, one of the things, as I had said many times prior, is I want to do virtual hikes for people who can't get outside, those who are physically or mentally unable to, or those who are underrepresented and can't get outside, those from the inner city, those from the rural areas, those who have next to nothing. I also like supporting uh, organizations that also do that. Um, One that I'll recommend is Adaptive Adventures. It helps people with physical disabilities get gear they need and helps them get outside no matter their physical disability nor their income. It's very uh, good work with, I should say, very honorable work, and it's something that I absolutely love. Um, I do wish DCNR would actually post uh, uh, virtual hikes, but I guess I'm going to be doing that, and I don't mind that at all, as long as I can get my camera angle correct. I think it does become more correct after the incident up ahead, and why is it pointing to the ground? I had no idea it did this in this part, but uh, there's actually a good reason why it's pointing to the ground now. Yeah, negativity breeds more negativity. That's what I've found. When the pandemic hit, I was literally, uh, not able to do anything because of my mental status. I was untreated with bipolar for 15 years, and me checking the trails again, it's always good to have a map. Um, that way I knew which way I was going. Um, and but as I said, I was untreated with bipolar for 15 years. The beginning of the pandemic, within 3 months, I was unable to do much of anything. And then I started getting help. I'm much better. I'm also more positive that the first 3 months of the pandemic changed my whole outlook on life. And I will mention, you may see me looking like I'm wearing a hoodie, which I am in the shadow. Reason why my hoodie was orange, and there may be hunters in the area. Is this the part where it starts getting rocky, or am I talk this is the part where it starts getting rocky? Yes. So this is the fun part of the descent. I actually had a bit of trouble because it started getting steeper and steeper. So I was watching my footwork. I was looking out at the rocks in the way. I was looking out at the trees to see what could help me. Um, and the orange marks, I'll let you know, also tell you the trail. Now, see here, I'm actually beginning to go down faster. Um, the next thing I know, I'm going to be literally going faster than this going down the hill. Well, I should say off trail. It was kind of terrifying, kind of fun, and it hurt. Uh, I I fell pretty hard. Uh, Notice how that goes straight down to the river. Right on the other side of those trees is actually train tracks that follow the river. Those train tracks go all the way up through Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is quite a distance. And from there, I don't know where they go. Uh, I just know that they follow the river up through that way. And they also go, there's also a split branch that goes to what's it called? To Harrisburg area from this area. The water's so beautiful. I'm checking the map because I think I'm off course. I believe this time I was off course just by a little bit. And get my orienteering done, well, wayfinding done. This gentleman coming up, I actually talked to quite a bit. We talked about why I'm recording, how much fun it is out there. Uh, and this is why I absolutely love hiking. You run into good people, you get to talk to them for quite a bit, and you get to know them, even though you don't know them. We were talking about the trails I had done earlier in that day. We were talking about what I'm doing now. I was planning on doing the full Kelly run, but because of the incident coming up, I decided to cut it short and just did the loop back up to the Conestoga after this downhill section. Huh. I don't think I noticed that the trail headed that way. The orange marker in the center here and the orange marker over there are from the same marker for the same trail. Excuse me one moment. I got a ding. I'm sorry about that. I had a ding that I needed to see. It was a message from a friend. Uh, I honestly told him where I worked, what I did, why I'm doing this, and it was a great conversation. I ran into him later on my hike up. I told him to have a fun hike. You always have fun when you hike. Yeah, this is the area where it got slippery. All these leaves cause problems, especially when you're going downhill. I'm planning my route, stepping on rocks, something I always do when I go down a steep hill. Making sure I am safe as I can be. Notice there's steep drop off on the right hand side. That is something that actually scared me quite a bit. And Up here, I'm going to laugh at myself because as I'm dealing with dealing with the problem I had, I paid more attention to my Canon camera, uh, more than I did myself. But as I was doing it, I was also steering myself so I could be near something that would help. Now, this part was safer to go down a ramp than rather go down the rock, only because there's not many footholds on the rock. Uh, I also had the wrong shoes on. I forgot to bring my hiking boots, so I swapped them with the hiking boots that I don't like in my car. Um, I'm just trying to determine where it's at. I think it's past this rock. See, and then the trail's getting thinner and thinner with these. I'm beginning to slip, which makes me curse because I don't have my poles with me. I really wish I did. I learned my lesson to because I kept my poles in my car after the last hike, even though I had on the last hike I had them in my hand. The reason why I primarily didn't have them here is because I have my Rebel T7 with me in around my neck, and if I try taking pictures with it with the poles, it kind of throws me off. Here, I'm still looking for the markers for the continued trail, and I saw it down here. Um, Upcoming is going to be a split level trail where one side's gonna be a little higher than the other. And I took the higher side because it looked safer. Um, you always want to plan out, as I said. You always want to be as safe as you can. I'm using trees as leverage. I'm using rocks as leverage. That is a very important thing. Oh, there we go. Now, I know it doesn't look like it, but was quite a distance off the trail that I fell. And it could have been a lot worse. And uh, I was okay. I had a significant bruise on my hip, the back of my leg, and whatnot. So this is actually something I do all the time is I make sure I have my feet uh, properly braced against trees, rocks, or whatnot, and then I plan my route, and then I use other rocks and trees to get up back onto the trail. Uh, it's weird because when I go down steep hills or up steep hills, you see me literally pointing all the time of where I'm going to go. Uh, I'm a planner, so it makes it pretty easy. Oh, but that did hurt quite a bit afterwards. I came home, it hurt to sit, it hurt to walk. Of course, it hurt to walk. I did, what, think 10 miles that day? And now I'm even being more cautious, using, fallen branches, fallen rocks, and look at that river. That is the Susquehanna River. And of course, I go to take pictures. This is a picture that I thought of using for my uh, starting soon picture, but I ended up using one of the upcoming pictures that I have from the steep descent down here of the trail because I thought that might look a little bit better. Uh, I'm also on because Football to me is meh. American football to me is meh, and it's the Super Bowl, and I really don't like companies shelling out, millions of dollars for 30 seconds when that could be going to something else that is much more needed in our to help people in our country. Uh, my headphones just scared the crap out of me. They just yelled at me. Um, but yeah, the dollars that they spent could go out to helping accessibility, helping people uh, get jobs, resumes, feeding them, uh, housing, even if temporary housing, it could help. But it's very important to put it on a sport where people make millions of dollars, and it's a big American tradition. I'm sorry, I sound a bit pessimistic here, but I wish companies would start looking the other way and helping rather than say, "Hey, buy from us. Hey, buy from us." Consumerism is always the new. That being said, of course, I own a Nintendo Switch, several video games, a PC with two monitors, a TV, etc. It is what it is, and I know I'm a hypocrite for taking part of it. So the funny thing about this double orange line, that tells you that it is extremely steep, and I didn't pay attention. The way the orange markings are, depending on the number of them, depending on the uh, number of them, the color, and whatnot, it will tell you what it's like. I actually slid down some of this to make sure I was able to get proper footing and make sure I was okay. There's a point where I literally just sit down and take a breather and take pictures. And I don't want to go too fast. That's why I grab onto trees. Even these little ones work, even though they can bend pretty well. Now, this is another thing is some of the trail is covered in leaves like that and down. I would avoid that due to possible copperheads, even in this winter time like this is. Now, I would have some music playing in the background if I actually ended up wanting to pay for it, but sooner or later I will. That way you don't hear me huffing puffing. That way I don't have to talk for an hour and a half straight. This is me checking out my the status of my boots, how dirty they are, making sure they're nice and tight, looking at my darn tough socks, and a cool pair of climbing climbing pants that I have on, seeing where I got hit the worst with that fall. And this is where poles come into play. If I had my poles, I wouldn't have had this much of a hard time going down this because it was very steep. And of course, the leaves didn't help. Now, in this part, if I would have had my poles, now this is the picture that I took for the starting soon. It's a nice picture, has the river in the background through the trees, and it's pretty straight. If I look down, if I look straight ahead, I should say, oh yeah, because it's cold, my nose is always running. Uh, uh, I mean, at this point, it's only 32, 34 degrees. Oh, there's my face. I forgot that my face was on here. That was me changing the battery. Uh, I use GoPro Enduro batteries. I did have it on a higher setting, which I did not realize. So I went ahead and changed it so I could get battery levels back after this hike. Uh, because even though I've had a GoPro for about 7 months, 6 months, uh, I'm beginning to learn how to use it a bit more. The GoPro I have is a GoPro 10 Hero. Um, I have tons of accessories for it, a lot of it for water. I need to get, I have a helmet that I'm going to see about installing my GoPro on. And I will keep its protective case on there when I go. And then it becomes easier from here. However, that orange line, that diamond tells me, hey, the property ends here. And I'm like, property ends here? And then I go down further and it's like, pipeline. As I consult my map on where to go, I had no idea where else to go from here. So I just decided to take the left after reading all these signs. And I went on a whim. I'm glad I went on a whim because it shortened my stay on the trail after falling. And then property of a pipeline, or warning pipeline area. Why do they have to go through our natural areas to dig up and put something underneath? I could have gone either way, but I decided to go the shorter way. That's the way I came down. That's how steep that is. Now I'm going to go up. Now, when I came up this way, I could have gone straight there to continue on to the Kelly Trail. But I decided to decided to head back. I had enough for the day. And it was pretty cool heading back. There was some running water in a little uh, ditch along this trail. On the side of the trail, on the right hand side, it was roughly about, I want to say, about 25-degree angle down that went straight down to the bottom of the ravine, which was pretty cool. You can always live your life on the edge and still be happy on the side. Um, you don't always have to sit. You don't have to dangle. You could just be right there, right behind it, and still say you're living there. Um, it was still so much fun on this hike, and I really, really enjoyed it. Um, uh, as I said, outside is for all. I got dirty, which I didn't expect. I usually come back clean. Um, and what can I say? Now, I will tell you when you are done with hikes, please wash your boots. Not wash your boots. Clean off the mud off your boots. Clean off the mud off your poles. That way you're not spreading microorganisms or wood stiles. Uh, Not wood stiles. I'm looking at this because there's a steep hill to the left and a steep hill to the straight right there with those blue markings. Uh, uh, but as I was saying, you don't want microorganisms or soil to contaminate other parts of where you're at. That just helps the biome and that helps everything maintain its equilibrium in nature. Something, again, that I truly believe in. Again, I had to take a breather because I was huffing and puffing. Uh, After I fell, oh yeah, I'm also checking the map here, looking at my shadow. Um, Probably also looking at something my wife may have sent me. Uh, but that was something that was pretty awesome. Because I was able to properly wayfind with good maps on the All Maps app, and no, I am not sponsored on any of these items. Um, but it was rather enjoyable. It uh, made me feel good that I could do something like this to show people what some of the trails are like. I'm going out doing more trails than I have been. New trails, like this was all a new trail to me. I had no idea what I was in for. I didn't even bother looking at the difficulty rating or whatnot. The higher the difficulty rating goes, like I rate them on a 5. This one was more like a 3, 3.2, all because of that downhill. If you were to flip it, it'd probably be about 4, 4.5 in my book, because you would have to scramble up that area or have poles ready to go for you. Um, I learned a lot on this hike. I learned more of the necessity on a new trail to definitely bring your poles. Another is when you fall, stop as soon as you can, especially if you're falling off trail. If that were steeper, I would have been in a lot of trouble. However, my feet did steer towards a tree. Falling towards a tree is better than falling away from a tree. That way you can stop yourself. Hey, it's this gentleman again that I talked to. Yeah, I told him about my fall, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just hurt different areas." And it was, uh, he's like, "Yeah, that's pretty steep. I slipped going up." Uh, he was a pretty cool guy. I'm glad that I had a talk with him because uh, he like people outside are nice. Like you go on a small rail trail, you're walking. Almost everybody says hi to you, only because it feels even better down the road because you're making yourself feel better. Um, the positivity on people on trails is great. Even if they're having a hard time, you can always help a person get to where they need to go. Uh, uh, for example, what I've given food to a person because they didn't bring any food and they started getting hungry halfway through. What are you going to do? They did not know. They did not. They did not. Uh, they did not prepare properly. So a little bit of help, a little bit of education is always a good thing. I do educate a lot of people on these on my hikes at my job and a whole bunch of other people because safety is a number one goal, especially if you're hiking on your own. Uh, Something like the fall that I had earlier, I was prepared if I was going to get stuck. I had my first aid kit, I had my cell phone, I had light, I had my headlamp, I have my flashlights. I have like everything ready to go. And before I leave, I make sure everything is charged. So I have, sorry for that. So I have everything ready to go and make sure that everything is proper and that they can last quite a while. I know my flashlight that I have from Coast, if I keep it on its lowest setting, which is pretty hard to set, uh, it can go for roughly about 3 to 4 hours. Uh, well, upwards of maybe 8. My headlamp can go for quite a long time. It can go up to 12 hours on its lowest setting. And then I have another headlamp that can go even longer because it has a red light setting that I like because it doesn't damage other people's eyes when you're at like on like white light. So it is something that I find uh, necessary when you go out. Other things: first aid kit, map, compass, emergency whistle, um, food. That's a big one. Um, there's a whole bunch. They call them the 10 essentials. I would recommend looking them up if you do want to go on a hike. Again, me taking a breather, looking at the map. Sorry, I had to get more liquids in me because I've been talking for almost 2 hours straight. Now, some of the 10 essentials needed, I find even more essential than others. Number one, light. Number two, uh, uh, emergency kit, first aid kit. Number three, compass. Number four, map. Number five, whistle. The emergency whistles are loud. There is a company in Pennsylvania that makes a titanium whistle that goes around your neck. It is very light, very, very loud. I tested one out, and yeah, it's not as high pitched as a dog whistle, but it carries. And those who are out on the trails know to listen for whistles so they can be directed on where the whistles go. Now, for those whistles, if you're ever caught in a spot where you need to blow the whistle, don't use all your breath to blow at once. You want to do many breaths, taking breaks in between to make sure you can continually blow the whistle until somebody finds you. Um, it's what it is. People go missing on trails, unfortunately. There have been some in the news, like down in Hawaii, uh, over in the West Coast, of course. You also got to be careful about fire starters. Another big one is stuff to make a fire, which is usually like a striker, a lighter, or matches. I carry both a striker and a match. So this trail over here is actually not a trail. It just goes to the small stream that I was talking about, and that giant log that's over it that's cracked. It's pretty cool. I should have taken a picture there, but I didn't because I was in pain, I was tired, and I wanted to be done at this point. I did absolutely love the scenery in both of these hikes. I'm coming up on the Conestoga trail up here, and it's this Conestoga loop, but as I said, the Conestoga continues to go even further than where I was at. It goes all the way up to Columbia to Lancaster along the river. Um, I do plan, as I said, to go out next week, see about maybe going to a place I've been before, or maybe even going up to part of the Appalachian Trail to go to another overlook, or maybe even Pine Grove. I know people have already started leaving for their AT through hikes, and I know they'll be stopping by my work because we're right off of it. And yeah, it's great. And if you have any questions about any of these, you can find me on Twitter at Neurotic Weasel, which I rarely check. You can message me on Reddit, same, or you can message me here, which I'm on Twitch more than I am on any of those three. Uh, I can give you tips on gear. I'll do it on stream. I can give you tips on where to go, where to start. And no, hiking is not an expensive sport. It is not an expensive leisure time. All you need to do to start hiking is the willingness to go outside. That's it. You don't need expensive gear. You don't need the best gear. You need you can go out with a backpack, a small first aid kit, like one made from home materials. You make sure you have something to drink, make sure you have something to eat, and just go. Uh, from there, you'll begin to notice what you'll need, what you don't need. I mean, I have a rain jacket in my pack just in case it started raining there. It wasn't going to rain that day because, as you can see, it's bright blue up there. However, one of the things I will tell you is because I brought my rain jacket, I was prepared to use it as a third jacket just in case anything happened. I had my long sleeve shirt on, I had a base layer on, I had my one of my hoodies on, my zip up hoodies, so I would be very well insulated. But at this time of year, I would need a fire, so I'd have to stay up quite a bit while using my whistle, my phone, and whatnot. Sorry, I just yawned. It's not that late, is it? But I don't think so. But this was a bright sunny day. One of the areas that I hike at uh, isn't this bright because there's much more tree coverage. In the summertime, I do recommend if you're on the East Coast, 1000% treat your clothing with permethrin. It helps keep away ticks. It helps keep away fleas and mosquitoes. Uh, in the East Coast, there's a chance of getting Lyme disease from uh, deer lice, deer ticks, I should say. And when I was looking into research about this on the West Coast, they really don't have that problem. Also, poison oak, poison sumac, and poison ivy don't grow uh, west of the Rockies for some strange reason, probably because it's much more moist out there. Uh, the weather's wetter, and even in California, the weather is wetter out there. As soon as start hitting the Cascades, the Sierra Madres, the Rockies, all that moisture is eaten up, and then you get the humid continental from there. Here we get Gulf Stream humidity as well as continental humidity and wind. Uh, it makes for a very, very fun, uncontrollable uh, spring, summer, winter, and fall here. Uh, this part of the hike is also kind of straight up, like the one that I fell at. Uh,
However, this is much easier as when you're going down, you have to kind of lean backwards. When you're going up, you can lean forward if you want. Um, Excuse me here real quick. I'm looking for something. Uh, it was a great day for a hike. By the time I was done, it was 41 degrees. When I started, it was 29 degrees. This is in, of course, Fahrenheit, not centigrade. But yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Um, After this video ends of my hike, I'm actually going to uh, switch it over and play just a little bit of Metroid on stream, uh, as I have just started up. It's going to be Metroid Prime. I used to speedrun it back when it was in the GameCube days. When Corruption came out, I bought the trilogy, and I used to speedrun as that as well as the trilogy. My times were pretty good for Metroid Prime. I was a little off on Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and I was off on Metroid Prime 3. Now, when I'm going to go out hiking in the summer, of course, there's going to be more people out, and it's also going to be a lot more lush, a lot more green, a lot more animals. When it snows, I see the most animals because it sets off their camouflage a little bit differently than it does here. Because of course, the ground's brown, the leaves are brown, trees are brown. There's everything is on the ground at once, so a lot of animals will hide in the ground while it's in the winter. Now, any of y'all viewing have any questions for me? What to do to start? Where to go? What do you what you any aspirations on if you want to go out? If you can't go out, I can give you information on companies that will help you get out. Uh, there's a bunch of stuff that all you need to do is just take the will to go outside just to go outside and hike. Sorry about that. That was my wife that you may have heard cough.